you, Harmony Singers and Victoria and every one of you new guys. We love you. Yay! We love you and we bless you and we behold the Christ in you. We are blessed and we are golden because you're here. Well, today I'm going to talk about the mechanics of the universe and giving and receiving. But first, it's sort of broken up into halves because every time I get to speak, which is 6 times this year, it's going to be based on how the energy of the universe is a component of what we do. Today's giving and receiving. So that's how we're going to do things today. Luke 8:10 says, you've been given insight into God's kingdom. You know how it works. That's what it says. You know how it works. You may not know consciously, but when you were born, this is part of your soul's awareness, that you know how it works. Sometimes we lose touch with that. We forget how it works, and we have a hard life until we can get back to that inner knowing. When Jesus said, you know how it works, he was talking about the energy that surrounds each of us. It's designed to take us beyond our imagination, our dreams, our desires. It can take us anywhere. We are part of a field of energy that's often referred to as the quantum field, or quantum soup, or the ether, or impulses of energy and information. Ernest Holmes called it infinite mind. Einstein called it the Big E. That's not the Big Easy, the Big E, which is energy. Scientists refer to it as the Higgs boson theory, or subatomic particles made up of protons, electrons, quarks, and bosons. Scientists are now catching up with us guys here in New Thought. They're calling it the God particle. Whoa! Aristotle called it first cause. So then, we are surrounded by and filled up with a field of energy that is part of a universe of energy. And it's designed to carry us to whatever kind of life we want to have, whatever we want to be. This energy thinks, it listens, it organizes. It'll do anything unless we get in its way. What it does not do is judge. That we sort of fill in that gap. It doesn't judge your beliefs. It doesn't judge your thoughts. It doesn't judge your words. It just simply acts upon you and what you are thinking and what you are feeling. You are the controller of how your energy and your space acts. For example, if we have continuing thoughts of inferiority, man, that energy is going to rise up and give you the grand champion of an inferiority complex. And not only that, it will serve up every person that you need to reinforce that feeling of inferiority. There's a story about this priest that's being a tourist in Chinatown, and so he's walking around. I don't know if any of you have ever been there, but it's really a special, wonderful, unusual place to be. So he's looking at the little butcher shops with the chickens hanging in the windows, and then he's looking at all, the herb shops and this shop and that shop, and he sees a tattoo parlor. And so he's looking in the window, and it has all these displays of tattoo art. It has your mama, it has your girlfriend, it has an anchor, it just has all sorts of things. And then it has word art. And he spots this phrase, and it's just astounding to him, and it says, born to lose. Well, he's just got to find out what that means. So he goes into the tattoo shop and he asks the proprietor, what kind of a person would permanently ink that on their body, born to lose? And the proprietor says, first in mind before on body. So, and I'm going to tell you from my own life, I hope I'm not being too personal here, about how your consciousness can direct things and control things in your life, and that these things can be altered. Now, in my childhood, this is the message I received. As I learned as a parent, the parent is not always giving you this message. The child receives many things that is not the intent of a parent. But the message that I received is that I was voiceless, useless. There was nothing I could do that was right, except it was my responsibility, because when everything in the planet went bad, it was my fault. Okay, I grew up, I got married, and still had this consciousness, and went through the marriage, I still had this consciousness. My responsibility was to make things good. And then my husband committed suicide. And my children, my 3 oldest children, were young adults. So there I was, naturally I was responsible. And my whole vibration was, what could I have done different? Could I have done this different? Could I have been kinder? Could I have been this? Could I have been that? And trust me, there is nothing like unforeseen death in a family to change the family dynamics. And my young adult children were filled with rage. And yes, because I projected this vibration of my fault, they were there to reinforce that. And then Glenn came along into my life, and we got together, and he observed these dynamics where kids, like kids can do, could be quite brutal, and I was already cowed for 42 years, and so I accepted what they said. I had this big energetic bullseye, and they had this big energetic finger. And so he said he didn't confront them, because you just don't confront negativity. It just is counterproductive. You don't do that. But he said, this is going to continue to happen. They will not respect you unless you insist on it. Whether you change how you feel about yourself or you demand it, but it is not going to change. Well, it took a little while, and it did change. And I began to feel within myself and verbalize, this is not acceptable. You will no longer speak to me like this. And it took time, and most of you know my family. We are a rainbow of colors, lifestyles, a big, beautiful, happy family. And we not only love each other, we like each other. We enjoy doing things. And it's just a wonderful, happy, productive, loving family. So it can change, but the change isn't from them, it's from you. You are the only one that can change your energy. First, you have to recognize that you have that power. You know, back in the days of radio and Edison's electric lights, we could have never, ever foreseen the common use that we have with computers right now. And really, this energy from the electric lights to the computers is a metaphor for how divine energy works within us and works in the planet. Glenn has a new worker on his crew, a young Hispanic guy. And so the kid graduated from Carter Riverside High School, and Glenn was saying that he attended that school in that building. And so what does the kid do? He whips out this big giant phone and he Googles the school, and he tells Glenn, who was the principal when it was built, the year it was built. He had all this information right there. And that's like us. We can access the God energy. All we have to know is that we can. This kid became so comfortable. There he is. A kid from the barrio can tell you anything you want to know. I thought it was Henry reincarnated. Energy is a common denominator. We said that those particles of information and energy just act. They don't judge. You know, Emerson said, the world looks like a multiplication table or a mathematical equation, which in turn, how it will balances itself. Ultimately, every secret is told, every crime is punished, every virtue regarded, every wrong redressed, in silence and uncertainty. Every act rewards itself. So that's what energy does. It takes what you're putting out and brings you the reward. It's up to you how you want that reward to come back to you. So we talked about a non-judgmental support system for our thoughts and our words. And it doesn't matter necessarily what we try to project. The truth of ourselves speaks so loudly, no one can hear our words. It's very important. An attitude guides our destiny. Intent, this is so important, intent underlies everything. You know, a battered woman, she doesn't even know what intent is. All she wants to do is survive from one hurt to the next. You have to know that you can have an intent if you want to change things. So that's why I'm talking about the energy of the universe and how you're in control and how it's a component of everything you do. This energy is God acting in you and through you, and your kingdom, that you are the ruler and have dominion over this energy, this God energy that is there to uplift you and support you. But you're the one making the choices. All that being said, and everything, logically we know that the underlying energy balances everything. But me, being the Irish person that I am, I prefer to think there's a little magic in there somewhere. So while the laws governing giving and receiving are pure universal logic, exquisitely fair, it's okay if I want to credit a little magic. Right? Oh. After all, if you understand that you are using source energy, what does that make you? A sorcerer! Yay! So the universal energy functions, God energy, not the God of all the universe, the God, that energy that was breathed into you when you were born, that functions at the level of your own concept of it. Luke 6:38 gives us a fact. Give, and it will be given unto you. When you live selfishly, there is a decrease. When you live generously, there is an increase. That's it. That's the formula. The logic of this has been proven over and over. Maybe it's not immediate, but sooner or later it's going to rise up and bite you in the butt. Why? When you live generously, it's telling Spirit that you trust. That's it. You trust. It's like turning on the ignition to give the car energy. That's what trust and surrender to the divine is. It alters the vibration you're giving out. The universe supports your thoughts. The stronger your beliefs, the more effective an idea becomes. That's why I have always encouraged you to keep an evidence journal. Gratitude journals, fine and good, but once again, it's the intent. An evidence journal is a reinforcing of a personal experience where you recognized God's got your back. It's an observation. It's a way of training your consciousness to have an intimate relationship with God, with all that is. Again, attitude guides our destiny. Intent underlies everything. Remember this, intent. Now let's discuss tithing. What the heck? This is a church, and somebody might beat me up if I didn't talk about tithing. Now, my daughter-in-law goes to a church that serves her spiritual journey where she is right now, and it's not Unity or New Thought. It's okay where she is. She's flourishing and thriving where she is, and everything she does is motivated by pure love. But there's just one thing. Her church is very controlling about the law of 10% tithing, so much so that anytime her tithe falls short of what they believe that her 10% should be, they will call her and chastise her. Okay? Or, like if she's a class leader teaching a class like Cinda or Scott, or, if she doesn't give her 10%, she's out. They send in a substitute. Now, somewhere in my viewpoint, it's just me, somebody's missing the mark over there. Yeah, I believe that the teaching of tithing was simply an exercise to be learning about unlimited good, that God is so good and has everything for you if you just find the little key to turn within yourself. You should tithe to a church. There's bills to pay. You have to keep up a physical facility and do all the functions, and so that's a good thing. It is always, what is your intent when you give to the church? Intent underlies everything. Is it an intent to pay the 10% tax and feel holy and good? I don't think so. It doesn't bode well for how the universe is going to give back to you, does it? Do you want to be given a gift from parsimonious consciousness? I wouldn't. My immediate human response would be, forget about it. I don't need it. I could talk myself into being spiritual later, but I'm afraid that my first instinct would be say, keep it. If somebody gave a gift to me, to be honest, it would make me feel like crap. I would not like it. Now, Charles Fillmore says that there are laws of giving: a willing mind, giving in faith, and a just and fair proportion. Now, I know most of you here know who Edwina Gaines is, and she tells this story over and over about, and feels that you should give your tithe to whoever is giving you spiritual nourishment. Well, I still think you should be supporting the physical facility where you attend. But she talks about a waitress saying something so profound, just exactly what she needed at the moment. And so her tithe was to give that waitress a just and fair and astounding proportion. And it was spontaneous, and it was a gift from the heart, and that's how the gift should be given. That's the kind of energy you want magnetized back to you. So why are you giving? There's a lot of ways of giving. So have you ever given a gift that has the potential to be enabling someone to continue being a user? Okay, One of the gifts that you're given is spiritual discernment. But the other thing about the viewpoint of the person you're giving a gift to is, what are you reflecting? And I know I have said this countless times, but it's so poignant and so touching. I read this statement and it said, the beast didn't know he was beast until he looked into the eyes of man. So when you are giving a gift because you consider the person you're giving the gift to as less than, that person is receiving the energy you are sending out. That energy is a component of everything you do and is a very real thing. So be careful of what you're sending out when you're giving a gift. Or do you give a gift that has requirements to it? You know, once you give the gift, it's gone. You forget about that. The person has a right to do anything with the gift. The idea is that you've given a gift and let it go. When you give a gift and you're viewing the person as less than, it's destructive to you and to the recipient. The key to giving is to first establish an intimate communication with divine source. That's what the evidence journal does, and that's when you converse with spirit, you know, that you're becoming so comfortable in that relationship that it's just second nature to you. You surrender to the trust and understanding of the magnetic logic of the universe. But it's more than giving and receiving. That's like a two-way door. It's not the combination. They're both separate acts, you know, and it's true. Giving and receiving, it's the door that swings both ways. But Charles Fillmore tells us that receiving is a separate spiritual act. Then there are also laws of receiving. Be awake enough to be aware. You know, the Edgar Cayce readings tell us that the one way to become more enlightened is to every aspect of your life be aware of God, you know, in everything. So be awake enough to be aware that behind the channel through which you're given the gift is divine order. Okay, and also another law of receiving is to know that answers come in so many ways. Sometimes it's no, whatever. But it is an answer, and just accept it that it's part of the order of things and there's something better, or there's something different. Or to recognize the meaning behind the answer. I remember I used to have an elderly friend, and now I am one. I don't know how that happened. But she said, always when something happens, to say inside your head, what have we here? Which means, what is the spiritual truth behind this incident? So, if somebody comes at you growling, ignore what's before your eyes. Ask yourself, what have we here? What is the truth of this situation? Okay, another law of the gift of receiving. Pat Moore says this, not Charles Fillmore. Say thank you and shut up. I can say that because it's my own lesson. I tend to depreciate, like somebody says your dress is pretty and, well, I got this at Walmart, or, you know, We depreciate ourselves. And what is the message you're sending out to the universe? Okay, bring me something that will depreciate me. Thank you and shut up is good enough. Okay, say someone buys your lunch. Know that it's the divine behind that. If you make every light, it's the divine behind that. The first daffodil of spring is the divine. So don't make light of it. Make note of it. Being a gracious receiver serves more than one purpose. It uplifts and reinforces the ability for you to give to someone else. It's part of the ebb and flow of life. Napoleon Hill says, nature's first law is that inaction and disuse leads to decay and death. This also applies to material possessions and your money. If you're going to hoard it, it's going to decay and die. And it applies to all the rules of the universe, just like it applies to the human body. So stretch your giving and receiving muscles, and remember to be always aware of your intent. Start where you are. Everybody's got to go to kindergarten before they can get a PhD in spiritual consciousness or becoming a sorcerer. So this is what I want for each of you, is to begin to be aware, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, to become more and more aware of how the order of things work. In giving and receiving, in every process of life, divine mind and divine love is the energy that your life is. Understanding the process will begin to lead you into a comfortable place of your relationship with all that is. Thank you.